Alright, let's talk about a production that made me rethink everything I know about Chekhov and silence. Imagine watching The Seagull for 2.5 hours where the loudest moments aren't the dialogue, but the sound of someone tearing bread, a shaky breath, or a gunshot that echoes like a thunderclap. That's this Belgian adaptation, performed in a mix of sign language, sparse spoken words, and so much silence it feels like another character. Now, I'll admit, when I first heard about this, I thought, great, another pretentious avant-garde mess. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized this wasn't just weird for the sake of weird, it was a full-throated challenge to how we consume theater. So, let's unpack this. Why would a director strip Chekhov's text down to almost nothing? And does the silence actually enhance the story, or just hide its flaws? Let's dive in. First off, the gender-swapped Konstantin. Played by Yonner Whitegens, this version of the tortured artist isn't just a man-child whining about his mom, it's raw, vulnerable, and oddly tender. The fact that Konstantin's gender is flipped makes the love triangle with Nina and Trigorin feel less like a cliché and more like a commentary on creative exploitation across genders. Arkadina, the overbearing diva, is already a masterclass in theatrical narcissism, but watching her interact with a child who's both daughter and rival. Chef's kiss. But here's what struck me, the silence between their signed conversations wasn't just a gimmick. It forced the audience to lean in, to read body language like we do in real life. And honestly, isn't that what Chekhov's about? Subtext. Unspoken tensions. This production literalizes that. The pauses scream. Now, the set design. Wooden boards, actors dragging props on and off stage, it's minimalist, but not in a "we're broke" way. It's look at how we're constructing this illusion, minimalist. And the sound effects. A performer slapping two planks together to mimic a door slam, genius. It's like Brecht on steroids. But here's where I started questioning things. Why freeze frame random scenes? Why let surtitles devolve into literal translations? Is this a metaphor for miscommunication, or just a director showing off their bag of tricks? And that square bracket in the title. Seagull. I'm still not sure. Maybe it's a nod to the fragmented self. Or a middle finger to traditional adaptations. The line between bold choice and narcissistic nonsense is razor-thin here. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, accessibility. Using deaf and hearing actors, blending sign language with spoken word, it's revolutionary. But what's the cost? For some, the reliance on surtitles and the lack of dialogue might feel alienating. I get that. But isn't that the point? Chekhov's characters are trapped in their own bubbles of despair, why shouldn't the audience feel that disconnect? The silence becomes a mirror. We're forced to sit with discomfort, with awkward pauses that stretch so long you start questioning your own patience. And maybe that's the ultimate commentary, in a world obsessed with noise, true art forces us to listen to what's unsaid. Look, this isn't a flawless production. Some of the experimental choices land like a lead balloon. But when it works, when Nina's breakdown is punctuated by a single scream, or Konstantin's rage dissolves into silence, it's electrifying. It made me wonder, why do we need words to convey anguish? Or love? Or betrayal? The best moments in life, and theater, happen when language fails us. And in that sense, this, Seagull, isn't just a play. It's a meditation on how we communicate, or don't, in the 21st century. So, would I recommend it? If you're willing to lean into the discomfort, absolutely. Just don't expect answers. This is theater that demands you sit with the questions, and maybe that's the most Chekhovian choice of all.